Okay, then we will start. So, the last class I was discussing about two topics. One is the types of distribution, then the second one is the means of distribution. So, these are two separate things. One is types, with another type you are studying about continuous distribution, discontinuous distribution, and bipolar distribution. Another means you are mainly studying about the different types of means animals are in like land bridges and wind agency, human agency. So these are the things that we will be discussing under the means of distribution. And today we are discussing another area that is factors affecting animal distribution. So mainly under the Zoology there are three areas: types of distribution, means of distribution, and factors of distribution. Don't get confused between these three areas. So coming to the factors of distribution, there are several factors. The first and the most important factor is the climate. And under the climate, you can see that climate is an important factor because if you look at the Sahara, if you look at the Arctic region, if you look at the tropical forest or the Peculiarity forest, there is distinct difference between the animals and plants living there. So climate is an important factor. Animals are adapted to combination of temperature and humidity that is affected by rainfall. So അതിൽ വലുതാക്കാൻ പറ്റുമെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നില്ല. ഒന്നും ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റൂല. പുറത്തോട്ട് എടുത്ത് വെക്കണം പിന്നെ. കാരണം ആ ലൈറ്റ് ഓഫ് ചെയ്തല്ല. എന്നാ അവിടെ നിന്ന് ഓഫ് ചെയ്തു. ഓഫീസില അതായിരിക്കില്ല. ഓക്കെ, ഈ രണ്ട് ലൈറ്റ് ഓഫ് ചെയ്തോ. So now listen here. So under the climate is actually contributed by combination of temperature, a combination of rainfall, as well as a combination of humidity. So how much rainfall is falling on an area, that will be controlling or determining the climate of that area. Now lower temperature prevents majority of reptiles from migrating northwards into the temperate area. You know what is a temperate area? We are living in an area called tropical area. Now when you are studying geography in school classes, you might have learned about Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. Now the region between this Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn is known by the name tropical areas or tropical belt. Now if we look the region north of the Tropic of Cancer is known as a temperate region. And similar regions south of Tropic of Capricorn are also known as a temperate region. Now one important peculiarity of the temperate region is that if you go to the European countries like France, Germany or UK, their temperature most of the time will be below 20 degree or around 15 degree. So if you have any relatives there, just check what is the temperature there right now. They will be telling that around 10 degree or 5 degree or something 15 degree. So most of the time in European countries, they are lying in a temperate belt and their temperature will be around that. Now one point that I have mentioned here, there are few reptiles in the temperate region. What is the problem with the reptiles? Reptiles are cold-blooded animals. That means they do not have a constant body temperature. So right now you feel that where our climate is very cold, but still your body is 37 degrees centigrade. That is a peculiarity of all mammals or homeothermic animals, warm-blooded animals. But in these reptiles or amphibians, which are cold-blooded animals, they are not able to keep a proper steady body temperature. Their body temperature varies with the temperature of the environment. That means if a reptile is moving, migrating to a colder country like UK or France, their body temperature will also decrease. So even the reptile is living in Kerala or in India, its body temperature may be around 25 or 30 degree. But when the same reptile is taken to a European country like France, Germany or UK, there the temperature may be 50 degree. And the temperature of the reptile, body temperature reptile will also fall to the level of 15 degree. Then what will happen? The reptile cannot function properly. That is why we cannot find sufficient number, large number of reptiles in colder countries or in temperate countries like Europe. That is a very good example. For example, polar bear, penguin, then large number of mountain inhabitant species are adapted to climate of the Arctic region, and they cannot come down to tropics or subtropics. That is, polar bear and they can survive only in those areas where the temperature is very low or there is enough cold. They will not be coming to an area like India or other areas like tropical areas where they won't be able to survive well. So that is a problem. The climate is a major factor. So how climate is coming? The first sentence itself, animals are adapted to a combination of temperature, humidity, and rainfall. So climate means basically temperature and rainfall. These are two important factors which are controlling or affecting the climate of a region. Then amphibians need high humidity not only for their survival but also for the reproduction, and cannot venture means move, cannot move into areas of low rainfall. So you know that when amphibian frogs are breeding, during the rainy season, you know the sounds of frogs, croaking sounds of frogs are always, you can hear it there. So amphibians need plenty of rain, plenty of water. In an area where the rainfall or water availability of water is very less, amphibians are not able to survive or not able to live. So that is why if we go to the desert area, we can find only few species of amphibians which are highly adapted to survive there. Most of the species of amphibians are not able to survive in desert area or in areas where there is not enough amount of water. So that is the case of another example. Here you can find polar bear is here, penguins are there, then desert habitat is shown here, then similarly salmon is also shown here. So majority of animals cannot cross or survive in desert due to extremely low moisture and high temperature. What is the peculiarity of a desert? These are the two important. One is very high temperature. If you go to a Gulf country, most you know, their temperature may be around 40 degree. And if you go to the proper desert there, it may be around 48 degree or 50 degree. And not only high temperature, there is another big problem, low moisture. Moisture mainly refers to availability of water. That is, there will be low water content in the atmosphere, low water content in the soil. So animals are not able to get sufficient amount of water. So those animals which cannot tolerate that very low water content or very low moisture content in the air as well as in the soil won't be able to survive in a desert area. That is another problem. That makes desert effective physical barrier. Why that is, animals which are adapted to live in an area of a lot like in an area like Kerala. If you take an animal living in Kerala or in many other parts of India to a desert like Thar Desert or Sahara Desert or Arabian Desert, they will die there because they are not able to tolerate very low water content. So that is a problem. Then fishes, although adapted to live in aquatic environment, are clearly restricted to either marine or freshwater habitat, apparently due to osmotic problem. We have to understand what is it. There are, all fishes are living in water. But if you take a freshwater fish living in a pond here, and you take that freshwater fish to a marine seawater, it will die. The problem is that freshwater fish can only survive in an area of low salt content, and whereas seawater fish can only survive in a water of high salt content. So fish adapted to live in a high salt content may not be able to live in a water of low salt content, and that is the that is because of osmotic problem. So that is every fish or every living organism is highly adapted to the environment or a habitat in which it is living. So that is an important thing. That is why a fish adapted to freshwater habitat won't be able to survive in a seawater environment because that fish is specialized to survive in a freshwater habitat. Then very few migratory fishes can make use of both environment, such as salmon and eel, that migrate thousands of kilometers for here you can find salmon here. Some species have a unique ability. That is, though most of the fish can either or only survive in either freshwater or in seawater, a few species are highly adaptable. That is, when they are in freshwater, they can survive in a freshwater. When they are in a seawater, their body will be physiologically undergoing some changes so that they can also tolerate high salt content. So there are only few species. So salmon is a very good example, and that is why they are living in they are living in widely separated area. Salmon is a highly successful fish. It is present in many areas of the world. So because of that, we are finding different species of salmon in different areas of the world. The low temperature of mountains prevents certain animals like parrots from spreading to these areas because parrots normally can survive only in an area of slightly warmer climate. So they won't be able to survive if the temperature is very low, as in the case of mountain area. Usually, if you go to a mountain region, temperature gradually decreases. So some species which are adapted to survive in a warmer condition may not be able to survive in a colder area. So this is another picture that is showing an island. Then second factor is vegetation. So one factor that is controlling the distribution of animal is the climate. Under the climate, mainly we are thinking of either water content, rainfall, temperature, or that important humidity. These are the three important factors which are controlling the climate. Then what we will think about the next point is the vegetation. Vegetation mainly means plants. Amount of plants. How much amount of plants are present in an area? Animals cannot survive if plants are absent in an area. So, unlike animals, plants are also sensitive to temperature and rainfall. They affect the dispersal of animals because later depend on vegetation for the food. So, animals are completely dependent on plants for their food. So, without plants, animals are not able to survive there. There are certain like carnivorous animals, but still they are depending indirectly on plants. Only if herbivorous animals are surviving, carnivorous animals can live. So animals always need plants, and plants are very much sensitive to temperature as well as rainfall. How much amount of rain is coming? For example, in Kerala we are having lot of forests are there. We have plenty of rainfall is there. But that is not the case if you go to central area like Andhra Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh or other areas in India. We are not finding that much amount of rainfall. The rainfall is very limited. They are not getting too heavy rainfall during southeast as well as northeast monsoon. So rainfall is an important factor affecting the life of plants. Then tropical areas support broad-leaved forests, whereas temperate areas contain cold-tolerant trees like conifers. And there are two types of plants. You take a mango. Now you know how the leaves of a mango is there. They are basically broad leaf. That is, the leaves are slightly wider. Now, if you go to casuarina you may be knowing. Casuarina is a very good example of trees living in temperate. So for our pine, and these trees are living in temperate area. You go to Wagaman or you go to Munnar, and if you look at the forest, there we are finding temperate forest. In the temperate forest, what we are seeing is that they have the leaves there are narrow leaved like coniferous trees are maybe picture maybe these are the two different types of forest. One is a broad leaved forest, other is a coniferous forest. Coniferous mainly include pine, then casuarina, eucalyptus. Such kinds of plants are contributing the coniferous forest. Whereas in the case of temperate forest, what we are seeing is that most of the plants like a mango or jackfruit tree, they are all broad-leaved plants. So there are two distinct difference between vegetation. In the case of some areas, we are finding mainly broad-leaved plants. In areas where there is low temperature, like Europe or in temperate areas of the world, we are mainly finding the second type. These type of forests are there. This is the type of forest that we are finding in countries like Europe. So that is the peculiarity of the different types of forest. Then desert climate can support few plants and thereby few animals. Some animals can feed on many types of vegetation and can spread to larger areas, but others are choosy and will not accept anything except for their specialized diet. For example, here I will show you a picture. There are two animals. One is koala. What is the second one? That is panda. Here there is a sentence that shows that some animals are very choosy. That they are very much selective. They will not eat everything. They eat only a few types of food. And in the case of these two animals, one is koala. They are mainly eating on eucalyptus leaves. So if eucalyptus trees are absent, koala will die. They will not change to another kind of plants. So that is one problem. In the case of panda, they are mainly eating bamboo leaves. So if bamboo leaves are not there, they will not be able to survive. So there is a highly specialized diet. So there's those animals which are highly specialized in their food habits, they won't be able to survive in wider areas. They only survive in areas where bamboo leaves are present or eucalyptus are present. So if you bring a koala to Kerala, it will die if they cannot find enough eucalyptus there. So that is why some animals can spread to larger areas because they do not have any food restriction. They eat on any type of plant. So if they have no food restriction, or they will be able to survive in wider areas. But if they have very selective in their food habit, they won't be able to survive in larger areas. So giant panda mainly feeds on bamboo shoots in China, and koala lives exclusively on eucalyptus leaves. So such animals cannot survive outside their natural habitat. So this is one example of why all animals are not able to live in all the area. Those animals which can feed on anything, like crow, human beings. So human beings and such a kind of animals are present in almost all areas of the world. Human beings can survive with a different type of food, even if plants are not there or animals are not there, we will be able to manage. Then next is the presence of other animals. So there are two factors we have already discussed. The first factor is the climate, and second factor affecting is vegetation. And we are coming to the third factor, the presence of other animals. Now, in the case of other animals, different animals at different trophic level make food chains which are interwoven in a complex food web. Such interaction among animals often restrict a particular species to migrate along to other areas. That is, every animal is a part of a food chain. You take a very simple food chain. You take a frog, grasshopper, frog, snake, and at the higher end there is a bird or a kite or something. Now, if a snake has to survive, they need frog. So snake won't be able to move to an area where frogs are absent. That is the point they have mentioned. Such interaction among animals restrict a particular species to migrate alone. So in this food chain, the snake wants to move to a different area, but snake is not able to migrate. Why? In order to survive, snake needs enough amount of frogs. So if frogs are to be there, they need enough amount of insect or grasshopper. So frogs alone cannot survive if grasshoppers are not there. So this is how animals are dependent on one another. One, if there are 5 or 6 animals in a food chain or in a food web, a single animal cannot migrate alone. That is one problem. So if they have to migrate, all the other related animals have to migrate also. So interaction between predators and prey, parasite and the host, and among commensals and competitors pose a complex problem in ecosystem, and any immigrating exotic species can upset the balance of the native species. If there is any immigrating exotic means what is that? Foreign. That is, you go to Australia or New Zealand, many of the species present in Kerala are not there. And if you take a small dog or a small rabbit or anything, any small animal or bird from Kerala to that Australia, along with that bird, many parasites and virus may also come. And that will be also reaching the Australia. And the problem what happens, sometimes that bird may perish after some time. They may die. Sometimes bird may not be able to establish a successful colony. But the virus, parasite and other kinds of small insects on their body, they are very highly successful. They easily multiply and start attacking the animals in the Australia. So what will be the problem? Because of this virus or parasite or bacteria, the Australian animals will be facing a problem in their survival. They may die because of this virus. So that is the sentence that has meant any immigrating exotic species can upset the balance. So right now, there is so many, there is a plant called a lantana. Many of the plants here that we are right now seeing in Kerala have been brought to Kerala by Europeans, like lantana, then rubber, then our tapioca. All these are brought to Kerala by Europeans. So they have reached here from South America. So when such foreign plants are coming here, they will be competing with the native or natural plants already here. And sometimes because of the lack of predator, lack of enemies, they will be able to multiply in large number and without any kind of competition. So that is the problem, and slowly they become a pest. Dingo dogs, placental cats, and foxes are in danger of exterminating. Dingo dogs means the normal dogs that you are seeing here. Then cat, normal cat, that is a placental cat, and similarly foxes in our area. Europeans have taken these dogs and cats as well as foxes to Australia. They compete with the natural marsupial cat as well as marsupial dogs. And slowly what happened, many of these animals are, see, this is the normal dog, that is a dingo dog. The other one is the marsupial dog, which we call Tasmanian bull devil. See how they look very similar. One is a marsupial species, other is a normal dog. And because since they are occupying same kind of habitat, they're even in their body shape they are very similar. Say this animal is a marsupial dog. This animal is a marsupial dog. Now this Tasmanian wolf or Tasmanian devil are almost extinct. We don't know. We have not had any recent report of any Tasmanian because of the presence of this modern dog. So modern dog is competing with the food resources that was taken by Tasmanian wolf. So Tasmanian wolf are not getting any food, so they naturally die. So this is the problem of if you are introducing one species into another area without properly studying the natural balance or natural relationship that are existing there. So that is the problem of introduction. Then um, British red squirrel has reduced its range after the introduction of American grey squirrel. Here there are two types of squirrel. One is the red squirrel and second is the grey squirrel. That is another example. So British red squirrel has reduced its range after the introduction of American grey squirrel. Similarly, that is the then this is the American squirrel. They are more larger and more successful. When this American grey squirrel has been introduced in the European areas, they started competing with the already squirrel population living there. So the number of or population of the red squirrel living in the European area gradually reduced. So there is another example of how a foreign species can lead to death or extinction of native species. Then this is another example. There is of Tasmanian wolf. That is attribute the extinction of Tasmanian wolf is attributed. Attributed means is because of, that is the meaning of arrival of dingo dogs in Australia. Then parasites generally have specific host and must migrate to new areas. Then predator and prey also show a similar interactions. That is, in the case of animals also, we are finding that many animals are dependent on the other animals. Without the presence of other animals, one species of animal cannot migrate along. So when they are migrating, normally sometimes they also take along with the parasites and viruses present in their body. Now we have one more that we will discuss in another class. That is a physical barrier. Under the physical barrier, we have a lot of subdivisions are there, and we will be taking that in another class. Okay. So today we stop with these three factors. So you can take down the question.